It's 6:30 a.m. in the morning, Sunday, Saturday night here in, well, where you are in America. 60% of the subs on my channel are American. So I say welcome. I'm going to start this video and let everybody know because the channel is growing and a lot of new people come to the channel and see a lot of these live streams. If you want to see my specific analysis, breakdown, and prediction of the fights that we talk about, go to my playlist that says fight prediction and you'll see the edited and produced 10-minute videos there. Whenever you see these videos over 30 minutes, these are my live streams. A lot of the subscribers who've been with me for a long time like these, like this modality. It gives us a chance to talk a lot about various topics. All right, moving forward. I will start real quick in the first few minutes by addressing the title of this, George Cambosis for upset. Been watching, like a lot of you guys, as much as you can in terms of trying to find an edge. You know who I'm going with. I'm going with Hitchins. I have a prop bet as well. My main pick, Hitchins to win, but I also have a prop bet that I'll put up in the community section in an hour or so. And that's taking Hitchins to win by stoppage late. My question is, I have the current odds up. If anybody who catches this live stream right now thinks that George is going to win, I want to know your reasons. I want to know why are you picking George, and if it's just because the odds, then I understand that as well. And in that case, the money line has not shifted that much. George is still a 7-1 underdog against Hitchins. That's just on the money line. But I'm telling you guys, if you think George is going to win a decision, why not take him at 14-1? You know what I'm saying? Because that's the reality. The method of victory for George to beat Hitchins $15-1. And if you guys think that George is going to stop Hitchins, 13-1. Hitchins on the money line, $1.10. Hitchins by decision, 154. Hitchins to stop George, $3.40. All right, that being said, the first few minutes, we covered that. So all the newbies who might see this, you can't say, why didn't you address the main topic? I just did. Now let's open this up. What's up, everybody? I'm saying my hellos to everybody right now. Mercado came through. Mar the Prince, you're a beast. I know Goat's in the house. Wherever you are, let's like this video. Happy Saturday night to you guys in America, wherever you are. Guys, I'm trying to find the Donaire card. I am. We know that the Hitchins card is on DAZN, but I'm on YouTube right now. Did you guys see this card in the Netherlands? And no shade to people who are Dutch, but I just watched the oddest card ever. What's up, DJ? I just watched the strangest boxing card, and it was more strange than Ghana. You guys were on my stream yesterday. Ghana was a nightmare. Those fights, watching those fights on YouTube was an absolute nightmare. It gave me anxiety. I just ended up shutting my live stream off. I was like, I can't do this to myself. Like something about my personality. Nothing drives me more insane than when I pay for a service, let's say the internet, and it doesn't work. It drives me insane. It's on some website, but I can't figure out how to watch the fights. All right, talking about Donaire. But there were fights on YouTube from the Netherlands, and in between each fight, a little girl who was like 7, like a little kid, would come into the ring with both combatants. You see these men, all big dudes, their fight camps there, and this little girl comes in, and she's singing in Dutch, and the whole event stops. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. That's what I ended up watching this morning. I thought I was going to get up and be able to catch the the card in Buenos Aires, but I know it's going on right now. There's also a card in France, Michael Soro. Michael Soro's fighting right now. Cambosis decision, cruise by knockout. Z and S detailing. So let's dedicate the next few minutes, guys. Goat, Mar the Prince, DJ, everybody that's used to the live streams to address this. Let's talk about Cambosis' path to victory. Because if you like Cambosis by decision, that means you should go really heavy on the 15-1. And don't even put Cruz by knockout, because why risk it? Because if you're right and George gets it and George wins the decision, don't even put anything else. Just prop the George decision. I don't see his path to victory. What he's going in order to beat Hitchins, he's going to have to turn it into a dogfight. He's going to have to get past Richardson Hitchins' jab. He's going to have to fight Richard the whole time in the pocket and break him down from the body to the top. We know that George doesn't have one-punch knockout power, and it is his second fight at 140. I just don't see the path to victory for George. Like I said, I'm cheering for him. It's a good feel-good story. I know a lot of insiders want George to win. I just don't think he pulls it off. I think Richardson Hitchins at 27 is just getting going, and I think he's going to dominate. Terramona by decision. Terramona is going to start. Terramona by knockout. Cruz decision, George decision. Guys, are you getting Terramona options for method of victory or no? Terramona is the big heavyweight from Australia. He was supposed to fight on the undercard of Jaya Pataya, and Eddie Hearn moved him from the Australian Queensland card to this New York City card to feature him. And what's up, Best Out 815? I know, DJ. I just don't. If I could get, let me finish that thought. If I could get Terramona options for stoppage, I would. But I only got him at $1 so I'm not even putting him on a parlay. From here on out, if I have a guy that's $1.06 and under, I'm not even putting it on my parlay. The last time I did that was Caleb Plant, I think at $1.06, and he lost. I'm not getting methods of it. Yeah. So if you can, maybe some books, maybe you guys are at a casino, maybe you're allowed to walk into the sports book and say, hey, I want this fighter by stoppage, and they give you odds, I would definitely do that. Okay, see, even him by stoppage isn't worth the squeeze. So sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I'm at the stage of the game where I usually avoid those fights. And yesterday, I got to tip my hat to you guys. Some of you guys took Alate to beat Gorsh, and he did. Alate fought really well. And I told you, domestic level 50-50 fights, really tough to gamble on. Really tough, but it was a flip of a coin. I did my due diligence. I didn't do a video breakdown of that fight. I watched each one of their last fights. Best out of, I think you got it in the bag, bro. Rand, yeah. So if you got a method of victory, I'm very confident in the Terramona knockout. And 815 just said he just needs Hitchins and Cruz to win. I think you got it in the bag, man. I think both guys are going to put on good performances. I'm excited to watch the card. I want to see what Zach Moses looks like. I want to see the Terramona fight. I want to see the kid from India. We covered him on the channel in his first fight, Nishant Dev, but also the King of New York. Are you guys familiar with Pablo Valdez? During the press conference this week, they did a feature on Pablo Valdez, 42 years old. Eddie Hearn says that he has more personal tickets there than anybody. Of all the fighters, he sold more tickets. He spent 10 years in prison, and he's 42 now. I think he got out of prison when he was 35. So he's had a career from 35 onwards, has a handful of fights, and allegedly Eddie Hearn, it's supposed to be a decent fight. Cesar Diaz, Pablo Valdez is the big favorite. I'm interested to see what he looks like. But then we know Zach Moses is Shakur Stevenson's cousin. I want to see that fight. So there are fights, interesting storylines on this card that I'm going to watch. I really want to watch to see what Donaire looks like. Showbiz in the house. What's up, buddy? I believe in ticket sales report this event, which is sad. Yeah, so the ticket sales guys are going to be more about the average boxing fan, the mainstream guys. This card wasn't built around. I think it's set up for Hitchins to get to the mainstream. So this is what I predicted. I think Richardson Hitchins is going to have he's due for a viral moment. 27 years old. He's a world champion. He still feels he hasn't been given his flowers. He talked about a couple days ago that, the fight that everybody compares it to. And, rather than focusing on his win against Liam Perro, everybody talks about how he looked like in his fight. Give me 1 second. I'm getting hit up. Everybody's calling me real quick. Yeah, the Lemos fight. A lot of his detractors talk about just because he couldn't stop Lemos and Keyshawn stopped Lemos that wasn't a good win. But he said even to this date, that was his toughest opponent. Terramona's opponent was also in jail for a while, had to take off for 10 years. So Goat, there's two guys on that fight card that have spent a total of 20 years in the Pookie. That's insane. But Terramona, you know, whenever you see a guy who gets taken off a card to get featured on another card, the promoters like the guy. Gold member. Yeah. The channel's growing. Wherever you are, like this video. Let me know who you like on your parlay. Let me know if you guys took Alate yesterday. I definitely didn't. I thought Gorsh was going to do enough. That Ghana card left a bad taste in my mouth. We didn't even get to see Brandon Glanton. What's up, Showbiz? We love the sport. Yeah. Showbiz, do you think Hitchins gets a stoppage? I don't see a lot of people. I don't see a lot of people thinking that Hitchins is going. I don't know who that is then. So it's a. Are there a lot of frame accounts on here? Either or, we get bots. Whatever it is. Does anybody here think Hitchins stops George? Because if you do, it's almost 4-1. The decision's at $154. Christian Vargas in the house. Saturday night in America. I don't know, mate. Either if that was Showbiz or a clone Showbiz, he's taking over the chat. Hitchins has a slight chance for the stoppage, but I don't see it. Nino, and the reason why I see him stopping George more than I see George winning, if that makes sense. So when I'm thinking of path to victories, if I look at Richardson Hitchins at his best, his potential, which I don't think we've seen yet, I could see that potential Hitchins stopping George more than George. Even the George versus Lopez, Teofimo. I don't think he beats Hitchins. You know, we'll see. But, you know, the media was fun. George could sell a fight. We'll see what the crowd's like. If you respond to me, I believe. Yeah, Chino, hi. I'll get to you in a second. All right, Chino, let me answer you because you asked me 2 questions, and I want to answer that real quick. So he says, do I have any parlays? I'll go over my active tickets right now. So, Chino, this is for you, bud. I do have a parlay working with. I ended up taking John Fernandez. I don't know if that fight went solid yet. So the John Fernandez Ricardo Nunes fight. Yeah, well that's what Eddie said. My problem with a lot of people were siding with Ricardo Nunes. I put that up in our poll. If you go to the post section last night, and then I did my video film study, but I didn't record it because my girlfriend was over, so I couldn't edit. But Nunes, people like Nunes is the big underdog there, even though, you know, when you look at some of his losses, he has some bad stoppage losses. And both guys have 22 career knockouts. So I'm just leaning on the younger dude, the guy from Spain, Fernandez. So that parlay I have working, Fernandez. Some fights from Ghana that you guys probably didn't take. Nakajima. So there's a fight in Japan. And then I have Richardson Hitchins, and I have Cruz. Fernandez, Nunes, I bet the over. There's a rehydration clause for the Richard fight. It's good. He hasn't drawn much of a crowd. That TMT didn't make enough after him. Yeah, I think, guys, I think it all comes down to the paradigm about Hitchins' career so far is he hasn't gone viral. And on paper, that comment might sound like a casual comment. But when we look at fighters, even guys who have a handful of pro fights, think about your Carmel Motons of the world. Think about Abdullah Masons of the world. They have viral moments. They're young. One's in their late teens, one's in their early 20s. But I think you take into their talent and how they fight, but you also have to talk about their viral moments. Fleece Johnson out here dropping dimes. Did you guys catch Fleece's comment? Richard has mid-power. Yeah, Richard doesn't have one-punch knockout power. He has a great jab. Yeah, Gorsh lost. We know that, PJ. Alate won. I started this live stream. I tipped my hat to you guys who saw Alate winning. But if Richardson Hitchins steps into the ring and has a viral moment, I think he could change that narrative around how the media writes about him. Yeah, I lost the parlay on Gorsh too. I didn't put 300. I had a couple sprinkled on a long parlay. My 20-leg parlay collapsed because of Gorsh. But Fleece just commented about Devin. He said he could tell when he sees a man who no longer is a man. I mean, it is frustrating to watch Devin. You know, granted, Jose Ramirez. It wasn't Jose Ramirez in his prime. That's all, and you know it's not a skill set thing with Devin. It's a psychological thing. We talked about it yesterday on our live stream about how to fix that. It's a mental thing. You have to teach that guy. You have to somehow sit down with Devin and drill into him that he's not going to get hurt. You got anything? Yeah, I have Campos. So the longer you watch my channel, guys, when you see my 10-minute breakdown videos, this week I did 3. Last week I did 4. The week before and the week before that I had 5, depending on how much action we have. So whenever you see me those videos, I did the Donaire fight, I did the Hitchins fight, and I did the Andy Cruz fight. Whenever you see me give you a prediction at the end of the video, I do a parlay of those videos throughout the week. So I have a 3-leg parlay, Campos, Hitchins, and Cambosis separately. I just do that for the sake of my channel, kind of like a system that I've created. So whenever you see those edited videos, just know that I have that parlay working. I know. We'll see. Devin still has time. I think, what is Devin, 26, 27? I am taking Norman. I'm uploading my Brian Norman Sasaki video tonight after the fights. You guys will probably be in bed. But when you look at Sasaki, I mean, he got starched and knocked out. Granted, it was Hanoka. He's a guy nobody talks about. Give me 1 second. Andy Hiroka. So when you look at Sasaki and his record, I know it was a few years ago, but he got stopped by Andy Hiroka. I think Brian Norman Jr., he's right. You know, he is a world champion now. I think we've seen him Andy Hiroka. We've seen him level up each time. Hiroka's a dog too. Hiroka's no walk in the park. Hiroka's a really, really good fighter. But Brian Norman Jr. could crack. Yeah, I feel comfortable with it. I have kind of OCD with my gambling. I'll do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Even like in Australia, we have boxing events on Wednesdays. Even if it's a Wednesday card, I like doing it the next week. So Brian Norman Jr. fights on a Friday here. Yeah, I'm going to bet Brian Norman Jr. on next week's fights. Yeah, Andy Hiroka stopped Sasaki. I think it was in 2021. And so I'm thinking, like, I hate doing boxing maths. I'll be the first guy to tell you. That's not my sole reasoning. Obviously, I'm not going to pick Brian because how something Sasaki did or didn't do. I'm going to pick Brian because the things that he does well. His power, his aggression, his ability to be there, that front foot style. I like the adjustments Brian Norman Jr. has made with his defense. We saw that in his last fight. He's still young too. Brian Norman Jr. is not a finished product. It's something that's a narrative you're going to find on my channel time and time again. I'm not going to sit here and judge a champion in their 20s and say that they're world class or say that they're a scrub when they have a lot of polishing to do. He just happens to be a world champion. Same thing with Richardson Hitchins. I think Norman Jr.'s upside is actually higher than Hitchins in terms of what they could add to their game, because the thing Norman has that Hitchins doesn't is that pop. So whenever you have a boxer who's already a world champion, who's young, who could crack, you could fix some holes in their game, whether it's tactical or defensive or, feints, slipping, that sort of thing, technical stuff. Same thing with Charles Conwell. I'm not writing off Conwell either. I know a lot of people aren't talking about him because he kind of looked a bit flat against Chino in his last fight, and that was his fight to kind of step onto the world stage, and he kind of laid an egg. But because he could crack, I think he just has to make some tactical adjustments in his game plan. He needs to work on his fight IQ. Polanco's my guy, dude. That would be a firefight. I'm high on Polanco. I think Polanco's one of those guys a few viral moments away from being at the top of that division. And we know that whether you are going to wait for an official announcement or not, when you hear Greg Hackett on YouTube talking about Boots left 47 to fight at 54, with Boots moving to 54, if that is the case, there are a few guys at 47 that might not be household names, but I think they have the potential of becoming a household name. Polanco's one of them. He's fun to watch too. What's up, Boss Marv? Guys, we're about 20 minutes in. If anybody on this stream knows how to watch Donaire versus Campos, if you guys have a link, could you put it in the post section, in the last post? Could you just put the link there? And I appreciate I can't find it anywhere. And, you know, I was left here this morning watching boxing in the Netherlands. Devin Haney is the best in the entire sport, with all due respect. No one's beating him. That statement. What do you think about Pro Box Points coming up late this year? I like it, Gold Member. We have a Devin Haney fan. I like, you know, boxing's the greatest sport in the world because we can cheer for our favorite fighters. You know, I'm more interested to see what Devin looks like next fight. Let me check that tournament. Is it official? Yeah, the 47s. Is it official? Is that tournament official? Yeah, we're all asking for that link. Guys, if somebody has that link for Donaire and Campos, put it in the post section on my channel. If you guys don't know how to navigate that. Home, videos, playlists, shorts, lives, posts. Find that post section and click it there. We'd all appreciate it. Because my hands are kind of tied down here in Australia. Like I told you last week. Even if I wanted to pay $1,000, we weren't able to watch the Norfolk, Virginia card due to VPN issues. Here we go, Rambler with the meth streams. Once again, man. I don't know if I'm trying to watch anything called meth streams, man. I don't even know. Matchroom, is that on YouTube, Goat? Because we'll put it on. Or is that on YouTube or DAZN? Nick Flaz. Nick Flaz looked good in his last fight. Every time Nick Flaz fights, I watch him. Yeah, Devin. I agree, PJ. With Devin, it's a psychological thing. I like how Devin, I like how Devin brought in Nate Jones. We talked about it in my breakdown of the Haney versus Ramirez fight. He brought in, he's working with Nate Jones. Nate Jones is the longtime guy who worked with Floyd. Nate Jones is a 96 Olympian. He was in that class with Floyd. He won a medal at heavyweight. He's a really good boxer, really great boxing coach. So, Showbiz, that might be a clone. Clone Biz. These interviews are epic today. Clone Biz is in the house. Let's see Matchroom real quick. I got a site for you, Care, if I drop. Yeah, drop it, man. That would be awesome. Yeah, James St. Patrick, we got some bets working. If you're just coming on the stream, a couple of my money lines on my parlays, and I predicted all week. I like Hitchins to beat George. I like Andy Cruz to beat Hiromisha Mishira. And then, because there's another fight in Japan that we're working on. I think all the guys on the undercard in New York, the favorites are going to win. There really aren't any 50-50 fights. There's some interesting fights. There's some interesting fighters on the undercard, but the odds are insane. I Googled it, Christian. I can't find... Dude, I was looking for the last hour or so before I went live, the Campos versus Donaire. I couldn't find it anywhere. Yeah. Okay, TJ. This is what I was telling the boys all week. TJ, welcome to the live. I was telling the boys all week that I think a lot of Americans maybe didn't catch that Jake Wiley fight, but he didn't look good against Wiley, a domestic level Aussie. And, it's fair to say that Wiley's best, in my opinion, on record, Wiley's best victory came against deadly Dana Colwell, who's a good Aussie prospect at 126 pounds. Dana moved up to 135 to fight Wiley. And on his resume, that's Wiley's best victory. We've seen Colwell, Dana fought Chop Gonzalez last, and then he fought Shushu Carrington. So Colwell, they pair Colwell up against the best in the world at 126. I think it was during the pandemic, he popped up to 35 to get a fight in. And That was Wiley's best victory, in my opinion. And then, but when you put Wiley against George, George should have stopped him. And then you watch that fight, and George was losing rounds late. George was getting hit a lot against Jake Wiley. So no shade on Jake. For Jake's performance, I think Eddie signed him to a 2-fight deal, something like that. And I mean, a lot of us like to do boxing mats. Jake Wiley winning rounds late against George at 140, George's first fight there. His next fight, that propels him into a Richardson Hitchins world title fight. This is why I say Jim Cambosis, guys, manager of the last 10 years. Dude, what other manager has done more for their fighter than Jim Cambosis? It's insane. It's insane what Jim has been able to do for George's career based off of the Teofimo Lopez fight. Yeah, TJ knows what time it is. Exactly. Late replacement. So in the breakdown, this is what I said. I don't think George is going to be able to have answers for Richardson Hitchins' jab. I think over time that's going to, start breaking him down. And I have no problem picking Hitchins to win. But if you want to get froggy, right now it's 3-1 money. Hitchins to stop George late. I could see that happening. And we know George likes a dogfight. And hats off to Cambosis. Just because I pick against him doesn't mean I'm not rooting for him. I kind of have to reference that in all my videos. I think so too. Like, I'm rooting for George, but I didn't bet money on him. My money's on Hitchins, but I'm watching it because, like, I don't like it. Boxing's, it's all about the romance, dude. It's why we love the sport, the narratives, the storylines. Could you imagine all that talk George, all that energy George brought this week to New York if he goes in there and beat Hitchins? It's insane. But the thing is, George beats Hitchins. It's all about George. He gets a parade. Hitchins beats George. People say, you just beat George. So Hitchins is in an interesting predicament, and this is why I'm expecting a career-defining. At 27, I've said it all week, he hasn't gone viral yet. He's 27. He's a world champion. There's fighters that he came up with who have more pub than him, who get, way more views, get paid way more, and they're not world champions. Ryan Garcia's never been a world champion. It's insane. But Ryan Garcia's gone viral. Ryan Garcia has pop. We've seen some of the knockouts. Even disregarding Ryan Garcia's social media footprint. But the viral moments, Hitchins hasn't had one yet. Wonderworld, the things you see come true. So guys, wherever you are tuning in, we're about a half hour in. Could you like this video? I know we got some newbies in here today. We got some old heads been kicking with us for a while. I appreciate everybody. All I ask, just like this video. He wanted to. I saw that interview too. TJ, are you talking about on YSN? Maybe it was floating around. I was this morning doing more film study. I was watching Hitchins on YSN's YouTube channel. Yeah, that's what I mean, GOAT. And to think about Hitchins has gone about his career pretty methodical. Even when he beat Liam Perro, nobody really talked about it. And Perro was the guy who beat the Boogeyman. So you're not going to go viral in this day and age by winning split decisions or winning unanimous decisions unless you have viral moments in the fight. We know George beat Teo, huge underdog. I think that was a split decision, but George dropped Teo. Huge moment in the fight. We haven't even seen that from Hitchins. He needs a big moment, guys. I think he's due for a big moment. What's your favorite recent big fight that had a crazy build-up? Fury Wilder, mental health issues. Yeah, I mean, Christian Vargas, great question. What's my favorite fight that had a crazy build-up? If you're going Fury Wilder, I got to go EJ versus Bud. Fake Biz, Clone Biz, imposter Biz in the house. Yeah, I don't think Showbiz would be that cordial with me, considering we've gone back and forth on Instagram before. Hitchins will take the W. I've gotten blocked by like some of the biggest dudes, YouTube content creators in boxing, block me on Instagram for just not agreeing with them in the comment section. And I don't even talk trash. But to answer your question, who asked me about the biggest buildup, for me, I think I really enjoyed the Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Bud Crawford buildup. Just because what it meant to, for boxing, North American boxing at least. No, I know. Christian Vargas, Carlos Vargas. Cruz knockout's the best. Yes, Joseph Peters. Glad we brought that up. I think Andy Cruz stops Mishihiro. Everybody loves Mishihiro, 17-1. Guys, could somebody debate me on telling me that Mishihiro isn't a domestic level fighter? I mean, he got, I think he got stopped against Rikishi, and Rikishi's super tough. Don't get it twisted. We just saw Rikishi in a great fight against Sugar, and he got stopped. Did that go no, that went the distance. But it was a great, my brain's fried. All I know is that was, yeah, Sugar Nunes beat him. We predicted that. But I think Andy Cruz is special. I do. Andy Cruz, when he came out with all that momentum out of the amateurs, it's weird that he's 5-0 with 2 stoppages. Yeah, I didn't bet that fight. You guys wanted the Pizarro Mercado you guys asked me about on the live. I didn't want to bet it, but I said I was leaning on Mercado. Mercado just had more energy. But I think, to finish my point on Mishihiro, I think Mishihiro's domestic level. I think Andy Cruz is world class. And they say that he doesn't stop his opponents. He's 5-0 with 2 stoppages, 2 out of his last 4. What else do you need to know about a guy who is interested in stepping their game up than a Cuban fighter who leaves his camp to go to Philadelphia? Look, I'm not trying to offend anybody. My first 18 years of life was in Youngstown, Ohio, a town that on the pecking order is below Philly in terms of griminess. Youngstown, Ohio is an hour south of Cleveland, where I grew up. Our average household income, I think, is like less than $25,000. I think some of the statistics demographically are terrible. My point is, you wouldn't want to go from a tropical setting like Cuba to Philly. Even with the weather, if you weren't serious about stepping your game up. Cruz did that. Bozy Ennis, training with Bozy there in Philly, man, he's learning how to punch. He's learning how to sit down his shots. Cruz been buzzed badly. It's boxing. I mean, you're talking about Cecito, right? Youngstown's poverty rate, 36%. I left, check out those stats if you go to Youngstown in 2000. So I was born in 82 and I left in 2000. So I left at 18. It was grimy, man. The 90s, Youngstown was awful. All right, guys, wherever you are, let's like this video. Goat's in the house, TJ's in the house, a lot of the usual suspects. I want to hear some of your picks. If somebody here thinks George is going to win, I'm challenging you all live stream. I want to know George's path to victory. Because I guarantee if we have another Resendez versus Plant episode, all of a sudden, all the Resendez guys I told you so are going to come out of the woodwork tomorrow, which we didn't see any of them before the fight. So right now, you get your shot. If you think George is going to beat Hitchins, how does he win? How does he win? Okay, TJ, these are valid points. What's up, everyone tuning in? So TJ brings up a point about Andy getting buzzed against guys he shouldn't get buzzed by. It's hard for us to, how do we measure that in terms of when we're trying to go, there you go. Toxic Gameplays in the house. So Toxic, you know why it was at 60% in 1980? Google Black Tuesday. I think it was 1977 or 78. Black Tuesday is when all the steel mills in Northeast Ohio closed. So to answer your question, I'm live streaming from Sydney, Australia. Carlos, thank you for supporting the channel. Who you got? Old shot, Donaire, Campos. Carlos, to answer your question, firstly, I say thank you for donating to the channel. I'm taking Campos. I can't, with my educated mind, put money on a 42-year-old Nonito Donaire. If you want to go and watch my analysis and breakdown, it's on my channel. It's 10 minutes. I break it all down. But to be quick on that, to answer your question, the Donaire from 2019 beats Campos. The Donaire who fought Naoya Inoue the first time beats Campos. That was 6 years ago. That Donaire was 36 years old. The Donaire we last saw on the undercard of EJ versus Bud 2 years ago is done. That guy is done. And to think that he took 2 years off and he's fighting again after what he just looked like against Campos, I'm leaning and reasoning on, I think it's going to come down to Campos' speed. He's 28 years old, not a big puncher. We know about Donaire's iconic left hook. We know Donaire is a future Hall of Famer. We know he's a 4-weight world champion. Like I said, 6 years ago, this fight wouldn't have been made. And last night, Donaire was a pretty big favorite. Campos was a $3.80, close to a 3-to-1 dog. A lot of money has come back. Now it's close to 2-to-1. I got Campos yesterday at $3.40. I think he's going to win. I think his speed's going to be too much. Donaire looked really, really sluggish 2 years ago, and at 42 years old, I don't expect anything different from him. Toxics finding out where I come from. Yeah, I had to escape Youngstown. I told you, my childhood buddy, Kelly Pavlik, is my man. So that's where Kelly and I grew up together. I grew up on the north side of Youngstown. Kelly grew up on the south side, and we were baseball teammates from the time we were 7 until we were 15. Campos definitely outwork him. I think so, too. Yeah, but guys, Donaire, it's been a while. And so, yeah, Carlos, hopefully I gave you some clarity. Manager Marty, I didn't see your comment. Whenever, Manager Marty, let's see it again. What's your comment? I didn't see it. Yeah. I just don't feel comfortable betting on Donaire, and that's going to be my upset of the week. To Campbell work Steel Mill. Yeah, Kelly is a great fighter. I was at the first Jermaine Taylor fight. Send the link so we could debate. All right, Manager, the system I use, I don't even know what you're talking about, sending the link so we could debate. It is, TJ. Donaire's left hook is magic. I was toxic. All right, now we got the chat going. Mercado looked good. Me too. Yeah, so this clown wants to debate you. I'll debate whoever, but send the link. It's like, bro, what are you doing? It's like when the fights were in New York City and Conor McGregor threw the push car through the bus looking for Khabib Nurmagomedov, and Khabib does that iconic video, send location. You want to fight? I'll fight. Send location. Where are you? He wants to debate. I'm up for a debate. Let's plan it and let's schedule it, though. I'm down. Let's plan it and schedule it. I'm not just going to interrupt my live to debate you, but we could schedule it and promote it. I could put it up on my Instagram. I have a large Facebook group as well. This more so reminds me of when Blair Cobbs pulled up on an Ennis in a fishnet shirt. I think so. Andy Cruz, yeah. Yeah, who is this Southpaw guy? I went to his videos once. I can't believe he has a following. Send that MedStreams link, Johnny. Did you guys find a link for the Argentina card? Everyone's asking, does anybody have the link for the Argentina card? If you do, could you put it in this chat? We're talking about Campos. Yeah, Rambler. Don't get it twisted, Rambler. Like I said, my reasoning for taking Campos is youth, speed, less tread on the tires. My reasoning for not taking Donaire is, I'm not going to be upset if I lose the fight. I just don't feel right betting on Donaire. Also, guys, this is a title eliminator for Donaire and Campos. Do you know who the winner fights? Antonio Vargas. Could you imagine? Could you imagine watching Donaire fight Antonio Vargas? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see 42-year-old Nonito Donaire fighting a puncher like that. So I said it on my breakdown. I think it would be in Donaire's best interest to lose this fight based off of the title eliminator sort of element. Yeah, that Africa card was awful. That Africa card left a bad taste in my mouth. Ryan Hung, I got Hitchins winning. I know. I think so. I think the best, Donaire in 2019 gave Inoue all he could handle. That was a good fight. That was 6 years ago. And then he fought him again and got starched. And then, we saw what he looked like in 2023. Guys, 2 years out of the ring at 25 years old is a long time. 2 years out of the ring at 42 is insane. He's my age. I think so too, Joseph. All right. Is anybody getting the Argentina card? Gamboa was a dog when he was young. Like post-Olympic Gamboa, when Gamboa went from the amateurs to the pros, nobody wanted to fight Gamboa. People forget about that. Thanks. Yeah, people forget. It's weird, guys like Gamboa, you know, you start losing, you know, you make a psychological... There's a lot of fighters like this, guys, we know. It's like fighters come to terms with no longer fighting for world titles and just becoming sort of gatekeepers. So I don't judge a fighter like Gamboa on his entire career. I judge him on when he was at his best and his potential. I'm 43, Christian. And when Gamboa was at his best, nobody wanted to fight him. And I'm talking like, shit, it's 25 now. Maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago. All right, I'm going to check the zone real quick. Maybe 10 years ago. It's been a long time since Gamboa was you know. Do you guys remember Edson Miranda? Somebody was talking, I brought up Pavlik. You know, I was at the fight in Atlantic City when he beat Jermaine Taylor the first time. But Edson Miranda was another one of these guys, a huge puncher. Miranda was supposed to get the Jermaine Taylor fight, and he was a 4-1 favorite against Pavlik, and Pavlik knocked him out. And after Pavlik knocked Edson Miranda out, he was never the same guy. He kind of just made a decision to, you know, like I said, you could tell when guys are no longer fighting to become world champions, especially when they had potential. Yeah. So the way that worked, I don't see the prelims, guys. I'm on DAZN right now. It's all good, man. I got a sense of humor, dude. I grew up in a culture where we just clown each other, so you're not gonna be able to get under my skin. I will. I'll do a bingo night. That's insane. Why stop at bingo? I haven't played bingo. Dude, my mom used to force me to play bingo with her when I was like a kid. That was horrible. I think George might get stopped on cuts. I could see George's corner stopping it. Bing Ho night. Madeline. It's funny. I always said if I ever had a daughter, I like that name, Madeline. Hitchins stoppage. Say I could see Hitchins late. Guys, I'm not seeing the DAZN prelims either, unless it's on YouTube. Or the New York City prelims. They're not showing anything. Hitchins, June 14th. Yeah, I don't see the prelims starting. Molina Jimenez. There's a card in Mexico between two top 100 guys, Molina and Jimenez, that I'm not even getting odds for. I need one fight I could bet heavy on tonight, please, PJ. Okay. I'm going to answer you. One fight you could bet heavy on. Okay. So, PJ, how about you do this? Let's do these odds real quick. If you want to go heavy, I feel for a safe sort of thing. If you take Nakajima, PJ, if you take Nakajima on the money line, yeah, the odds suck, boys. Nakajima on the money line. Maybe Nakajima, Hitchins, and Norman on the money line. See what Nakajima, Hitchins, and Norman pay on the money line. I know that Norman doesn't fight until next Friday. But if you take Nakajima, who fights tonight, Norman, and Hitchins on the money line, my book is showing $1.80. And depending if you want to, like, heavy, I know you put 10 grand on that, you get 8,000 back. That could be the move. Because I think those three fights are locks to win. Nakajima's not going to struggle with Oshima, and I think Norman Jr. is going to stop Sasaki. Yeah, but Gamboa in his prime was a nightmare. I'm going to pull that up real quick. Yuriokis Gamboa. All right, I'm talking about the version of Gamboa actually thought he had a lot more losses. He only has Gamboa only 8,001 play. Yeah, Gamboa only had. I thought Gamboa had more than 5 losses, but he's been stopped 4 times. And it was Bud was the first one to beat him. So yeah, Gamboa was 23-0 when Bud beat him. And Bud stopped him in the night. That was at 135 pounds. So yeah, that was in 2014. That's insane. So Crawford was the first to beat and stop Gamboa in 2014. They fought at 135. Yeah, but when he knocked out he decision Salido, stopped Ferenis, stopped Solis. Yeah, he was a big puncher, man. Nobody wanted to fight him, if you remember. I hope Donaire wins and calls out Sonny. Well, there's a path. We know that we saw Campos versus Sonny. Campos fought Sonny really well, but Sonny retired. John Fernandez won. Yes, TJ. I went heavy on Fernandez. I'm happy about that. I love finding out on a live stream that I won. If you go on the poll, last night I asked you boys who was going to win. Everybody picked Nunes, and I was like, And I told you my reason. Fernandez, they both had 22 knockouts. But Nunes, he got stopped by some really low-level guys. 50 Cent ruined so many fighters' careers. Damn, they said 50 was hot. Won by DQ. Okay. I bet you my sportsbook better not try to screw me on that. Did you watch that fight live? Well, Gamboa has 5 losses. 4 of them he got stopped. His first loss was against Bud. So the weird thing that Bud haters talk about is Gamboa being chinny based off of what his career looked like after Bud beat him. But they never say when Gamboa fought Bud, he was 23-0 with a high knockout to win ratio. You know what I'm saying? So, Crawford can't control what a fighter does after they fight. Yeah, why was the DQ? Ali, good question. I can't find it. Campos is now almost down to 300. I got him at 340. You hate Toxic. Why do you hate Fundora? I've never heard anyone say they hate Fundora. Really, I really like watching Fundora fight. I like that he's a nerd. I like that he has one. I like that Fundora has a predictable arsenal, but you still have to get past that reach and height. I really enjoy how he fights. I like watching his sister too. Yeah, high interest. I broke that fight down, and I told everybody EJ versus Bud. I was an Errol Spence Jr. fan, but I put all my money on Bud to win. I just thought that matchup was really tough for Errol, considering the fight, that prodding front foot jab heavy style against a guy who can move and switch like Bud, and the speed advantage too. Yeah, Glanton won. Brandon Glanton fought. It was $1 We didn't get to see it though. That Ghana card, guys, was awful. Amir Khan, AK Promotions. You should be ashamed of yourself. That was terrible. It was so horrible that DAZN marketed it and featured it, and then after it was delayed for 4 hours. They just removed it. They removed it from their history book. So even if you go to DAZN's website and type in Battle of the Beasts Ghana, it doesn't even show up. They just deleted everything from the history books on their website. The throat punch is diabolical. Damn, it's Ghana with the win now. The crowd looked fun. The energy looked good to be there. AJ was there. When you think of Ghana, Richard Comey, Azuma Nelson, this little place in Africa produces really historically really fun champion fighters. It's insane. There's a good documentary that came out about 10 years. It's only about 15 minutes about the boxers in Ghana. It's on YouTube. If you really like boxing, you should watch it. It's really good. And they talk about Richard Comey. Comey was an amateur at the time, and they said he was the next guy up. Ghana event was one of the worst cards I watched. DJ. It gave me trauma, DJ. If you were on my live stream yesterday, I cut the live stream off. Toxic, I'm 5'11". So my dad, my dad was 6'4", and my mom was 4'11". So I kind of I'm in between. Usman get knocked out. I got Buckley to beat Usman. Yeah, Toxic. I didn't look at Tyson this Paul as a real card. Ike Cordy. How did I forget to get Cordy and Claudy? Exactly. So I'm mad and insecure. I say, at least you're not 5'5". Talk. No offense. I'm not clowning anybody's height. My best friend's 5'5" and he can fight. Dude, the biggest dogs I know who are scrappers are short dudes. My boy Justin Smith, 5'5". I've seen him piece up multiple dudes at the same time. He gets scrapped. He's a grappler though. He'll shoot right for a double leg and take you down. Being 6 feet over is long. Yeah, hands, baby. Kogi, them hands. Gervonta. I seen a breakdown of Bud fighting Sean Porter. Sean didn't land. That was a good fight. Dude, the Sean Porter fight versus Bud Crawford fight was a good fight, man. And it went late. Man, Sean Porter was fun to watch. He's an Ohio guy, Northeast Ohio. Sean Porter was fun to watch. I don't really care too much about Porter. Sometimes his analysis isn't my favorite, but as a fighter, man, how do you cheer against a guy who fights like Sean Porter? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Fernandez beat Nunes by DQ, Tommy. Fast car in the crib. I think Hitchins' fight goes over 10. Guys, wherever you are tuning in, we're almost an hour into this. Could we like this video? And keep the questions coming. It's a great fight if you want to see how to use your jab to eliminate. Yeah. Kell Brook was a dog. It's just that every time us North American fighters went over to fight Kell Brook, I'm never ignoring comments, guys. Gold member, did I miss you on something? Come ask me again. But the Kell Brook fight against EJ got his nose shattered. I love that stoppage. That man, Errol in his prime. Errol before the crash. In his prime though. Bro, UK fighters come to the US and look average. Yeah, Joshua Kelly when he fought Ray Robinson. Fast car. My locks today, I'm working on a couple fights from yesterday, but today I really like, obviously it's no shock. I'm taking Hitchins by decision. I'm taking Andy Cruz, and then I'm also taking Campos. Campos is the dog against Donaire, so I'm betting against the 42-year-old. Not a popular pick right now on the live stream. I know. Thurman and Garcia. A couple months ago, I put up a resume of Danny Garcia because I have the Facebook group. The Facebook group had 120,000 subscribers, and then Facebook just deleted it out of nowhere. And so I have it up to about 37,000 again. It's just Boxing News Today on Facebook. And I did a post about 6 months ago of Danny Garcia's resume. And people were dude, Danny Garcia's resume, look who he's beaten. He has some really good wins. And a lot of the haters will say Danny Garcia's wins over Morales, some of the guys he fought too late. All a boxer could do is fight who they put in front of you. Danny Garcia has a really, 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 really strong resume. Yeah. Yeah. Right? I agree, Koki. Gold member, Gold member, get back to me if I missed you on a question because you're always here. I want to make sure I address that. I don't think EJ's going to return, guys. Do you? Yeah. Yeah, Garcia boxed well. I don't think, if you guys follow Errol Spence Jr.'s Instagram, I don't think he's going to return, man. Ugas is training right now. Ugas is I don't know if he has a fight signed, but he's training right now. So I also put up my UFC parlay because it's a wheelhouse sport of mine. So I used to host a show on Instagram called Easy Money with this Washington Post journalist, and we would just do gambling breakdowns on UFC fights. Yeah, I don't think he should fight again either. that's why Berlanga takes his fan base. It's another fun fight. Guys, we have a lot of good fights coming up. The Berlanga Shiraz card. I mean, Shakur and Zepeda. I can't wait to break that fight down. I can't wait to break Shiraz versus Berlanga down. And there's a couple other fights on that card. And then if you look at the schedule, you know, big fights coming up. So happy lost. Cool. So Campos, Cruz. I think I answered everybody about the locks. I have one long parlay working from yesterday. I lost one fight. I didn't realize that Theo Alate was going to come out and box the best fight of his career. And then Gorsh, he really neutralized Gorsh's power with his movement and his reflexes. That was a fun fight to watch if the stream didn't suck. But, yeah, so Gorsh, it was 50-50 on paper. I went with Gorsh, and then Alate outboxed him. Toxic, do I think that if Bud takes away Canelo's jab, he outboxes him? I think Bud's going to have to do a couple other things on paper to beat Canelo that have nothing to do with punching. Bud's going to have to show and prove to Canelo early that he could take a punch. Bud's going to have to go to the center of the ring. And I think psychologically, Bud shouldn't take too many back. Bud isn't going to want to take too many steps back early on. So I'm expecting, you know, a Bomac game plan against Canelo to actually be in the pocket. For Bud to win that fight over, and you have to look at the game plan over the 12 rounds. Crawford's going to have to prove to Canelo that he's there to get hit. Crawford's going to have to prove to Canelo that he could take shots in the pocket. And, you know, I'm interested for that phone booth matchup in the pocket. I'm interested to see how slick Crawford could be and where Canelo's clinch game could be. Like, who wins that game? On the outside, I don't think that's going to be the game plan. I think that'll probably be Bud Crawford's plan B. If he starts getting tagged or if he feels that the power is too much, I think plan B would be to exit and kind of try to catch Canelo coming in. But I think the game plan is actually going to be on the front foot. I think that's how you beat. We'll see what happens, because this isn't the Canelo, obviously, who fought Floyd. And this isn't the Canelo. This is a different Canelo. I don't know how I could prove. Yeah. I don't know how I could prove this next statement, but does anybody on this stream think that Canelo's performance against Skull was kind of on purpose? Oh, back to Gorsh. Guys, I never break down 50-50 domestic level fights. Gorsh and Alate was a domestic level Ghana fight. So never bet heavy on domestic. My rules for me is I never bet heavy on a domestic level fight, and I never bet heavy on domestic heavyweights. Yeah, so big surprise, Canelo Floyd's son. That's what I'm saying. So when you rewatch Canelo versus Skull, to me, a word that comes to mind is disinterested from Canelo. Also, it looked like a business decision on Canelo's end to win a fight with the least amount of effort and damage. He didn't get touched, obviously. And looking back, knowing that he already had Bud, you know, we knew for a year now the crosshairs of Bud and Canelo. Why would Canelo care if the fans were salty that it wasn't an exciting fight against Skull, when in fact he could get past Skull, not get hit, and then go into Bud fresh? So I'm not even expecting, for those of you who think that Canelo versus Skull is the Canelo that's going to fight Bud and you're going to bet on Bud because of that, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, there's a lot of storylines. I mean, Canelo's had a long career. I think he turned pro at 17. Canelo turned pro at 16 or 17 years old. It seems like Canelo's 58 years old. I think he's 34. But he has a lot of tread on those tires. And I think when you know Canelo and his skill set and how he looked against Skull, that looked like a business decision to me. Bud will be 38. He turned 35. There you go. He is, though. He has a lot of miles on him. It'll be, and then the Bud Crawford detractors will talk about, you know, he couldn't stop. Oh, Bud couldn't stop Madrimov, dude. Israel Madrimov's a motherfucker. Like, the version of Israel Madrimov who fought Bud was insane. I mean, when we broke down that fight, I guarantee for the rest of Madrimov's life he's going to regret not throwing punches off of his feints. All that wasted energy Madrimov did feinting, level changes, head feints, foot feints, movement. And not punching. He didn't punch enough against Bud. But those looks, that even as a fighting on your back foot and you have a guy who's moving all the time, even if you're not punching, it's exhausting psychologically to stay in that the whole time, to watch and be alert the whole time. And I compare it akin to if any of you guys have ever had to give a public speaking or do a public speech versus a powerlifting event. And this is the only way I can compare this to because it's me and it's how I feel. Let's say I'm doing a 1 rep max deadlift session, takes 90 minutes. My 1 rep max on my deadlift is 212.5 kilos. So that's my 1 rep max on my deadlift. And I build up from 70 kgs with reps, right? I'll feel a certain way afterwards. But if I have to focus for an hour and study a script or have to get ready to public speak and I have to stand in front of people, that's exhausting. That is equally as draining and sometimes even more draining. So when you take that comparison and you put it into boxing and you have a guy standing in front of you making your brain think and make these decisions that Madrimov was doing against Bud, that is exhausting. And so he handled that pretty well. And people were saying, oh, he should have stopped him. Dude, Madrimov was a champion at 54. Bud went up to 54. It was his only fight at 54. I thought he fought really well. I scored at 8-4. I thought, I didn't even, it was kind of close some of the rounds, but I just don't think Madrimov punched enough. And then what Madrimov looked like against Virgil, it was a different, Virgil fought him differently. And a lot of that has to do with Virgil's fight IQ. And Virgil comes from a great camp. Team Garcia, Robert Garcia saw what Madrimov was doing against Bud. And he was like, oh, you want to negate all this feints? Fight him on the front. You know what I mean? Like, don't give him an opportunity to fight like that. And he negated it. And Virgil looked really good. And so they're talking about making Virgil versus Boacek too. I don't know if that's official. We'll see if that happens. I would definitely tune in. All right, guys. Did you watch Boacek versus Michael Fox? Think about Boacek's performance against Michael Fox and then Canelo's performance against Skull. It's fair to say both guys didn't fight up to the potential, but it's also fair to say it looked like both guys were fighting a certain way to kind of move on to the next guy with the least amount of damage. And if Boacek knew the whole time that he was going to get past Fox and get a Virgil Ortiz rematch, you would probably have to say Boacek probably then thought, let me not get hit too much. Let me just win this fight and then go into the Virgil fight a bit stronger. Kind of like what I think Canelo did against Skull, knowing that he had the Bud Crawford fight next. But that's why I'm not a fan of setting up fights in advance. Caleb Plant, perfect example. It's just things didn't go his way. Resendez came in there and beat him up. And the whole time Caleb was focused on Charlo. And so, yeah, I'm not a huge proponent of like fighters being sort of featured and then having a fight in advance. I just think it takes away from the fans and their performance. Guys, wherever you are, could you like this video? We're an hour in. We're waiting on some prelims to start. If anybody could get that Campos fight up. Are you guys watching Donaire? All right, PBC, what are my picks for MMA? So I did post these picks on my channel 2 days ago, but I'm going to go over them for you. Here are my picks for MMA. All right, guys. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a six leg parlay for the UFC card. Now, the first one's Ricky Simón versus Cam Smotherman. I'm a big Cam Smotherman fan, but he took that fight on short notice. Ricky Simón was preparing for Air Jordan, a really fun striker out of Canada. Smotherman's a dude who's been in the UFC for a handful of fights, comes from Texas, fights with Adrian Yanez, who's probably one of my favorite fighters. But what Ricky Simón does really well, grappling, wrestling. He's a bull. He's been in there with some of the best in the world. Long UFC career. I think Simón is going to neutralize Smotherman's striking and kind of drown him. So I got Simón money line, but I wouldn't be surprised if Simón stops him. Malcolm Wellmaker is a guy that might not be a household name for MMA fans, but that dude is dangerous. I think he has world contender potential. He can't find an opponent. The UFC had to go to the regional circuit to bring up Chris Monteiro. Monteiro, MMA fans will know, is getting his tail beaten in for the whole fight against Sean O'Malley. So Monteiro's a guy who's known for his toughness. He fights the O'Malley fight. He had the green hair, got his tail beat in, and got one more fight in the UFC. Lost that one, got cut. And because they couldn't find Wellmaker a fight and her opponent, they bring back Montero. I think Wellmaker stops him, but that's my money line pick. Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. We know about Court McGee. We know how tough Court is. You know, he's an OG reality show. He won the Ultimate Fighter, seems like 58 years ago. But Chiesa, not quite. Neither, you know, they're both on the decline. But when you look at the physicality, when you look how big Chiesa is, how much he, you know, hydrates, the grappling and the wrestling, I don't think will neutralize each other out. I think Chiesa is better at both. And that's going to be both game plan. And I think Chiesa wins that fight. Shabazian versus Petrosky is an interesting fight. Shabazian's a guy, if you remember, came from that Santa Monica camp with Ronda Rousey's old coach, Edmund. Can't remember his last name. But he came up with him. Edmund Shabazian was a super high prospect. A lot of people had a lot of hype on. And then he got derailed early on. I think he was 21. He went up against Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson, my man. And Brunson beat him. And then he kind of showed the game plan on how to beat Shabazian. You know, he wasn't well-rounded at 21. This version of Shabazian, as of late, he looks like he kind of manages his cardio a bit better. He's athletic as hell. He could strike, he could grapple. With Petrosky, he's another reality show guy. Petrosky comes in there looking like a bodybuilder. I think he trains with, you know, the kid who got stopped against Bilal Muhammad, who's a Sean Brady. So he comes from a grappling, wrestling heavy camp. We see him fade in all of his fights. He'll be dangerous early. I think Shabazian handles him. My only hesitance on that is that Shabazian does like a dogfight. And, you know, he could get clipped. But I'm going to roll the dice. I'm taking Shabazian. He's at $1.52. And then Rose versus Maverick. Man, Rose Namajunas, former world champion. This fight's at 125. Rose has been in the game for a long time. She seems hungry to still want to try to fight for a title at 25. When you put up her resume and her skill set against Miranda Maverick, I just don't see Miranda Maverick's path to victory. She really hasn't lived up to her potential. So I'm very confident in Rose beating her. And then Buckley versus Kamaru Usman. I like Buckley. I think where their careers are going, how much tread Kamaru has on his tires, the styles, and how strong and physical Buckley is at this stage of the game. And really watching Usman struggle to even walk in terms of all the injury he has. So that's my parlay. I put it up on the channel. Donaire Rambler's going for Donaire. Is that fight on? Guys, I'm going to call it quits real quick. I might come back later. I appreciate everyone supporting the channel. If you want to see my last-minute predictions of the Donaire Campos fight, it's on my channel. Also, Hitchins versus George. It's on the playlist. Fight prediction and the Andy Cruz fight. Could you please like this? Subscribe if you haven't. I go live streams every day, and I appreciate your support.